Check one, two. Check one, two. Check one, check two. We are live. We are live. We are live. Are we live? Yes, we're live. Good morning, everybody. Good morning, everybody. How are you, man? I got no music today for you because I was all jammed up. I got a glitch in my system, and I don't want to complain about it, but I got it rolling. So we're live. We're live today, and so is Donald Trump there in New York City at his big, super big fraud lawsuit where he allegedly defrauded somebody. And upon further investigation, who exactly did Donald Trump defraud? Who was Trump stealing from? So there's a problem right now, I believe, in America, where the liberal left believes that they are doing the bidding of the nation. All right, now listen to the thinking. Right, the liberal thinks that Donald Trump is just some rich guy who takes advantage of all of the rules and regulations and knows how to, quote, legally steal from the system, to suck money and goods out of the system. Right? That's how the left perceives rich people. Now, the fatal flaw there is, yes, Trump is part of that system and certainly guilty of that system. But what about the people that they're defending? What about the Joe Bidens and the AOCs and certainly the Adam Schiffs of the world or the Nancy Pelosi's of the world? The problem is that they can't see past that. They're fighting capitalism. They're fighting oligarchy in Trump and creating crimes that don't really exist when other crimes like the obvious violent crimes across the country, right? Just last night or yesterday, another congressman was attacked at gunpoint. 3 black youth super predators with hoods pointed guns at his head and took his car. Now, this is going on right now in America, but Trump inflates his wealth based on theoretical value of his wealth. And for that, and pays back all the money to the banks that he borrowed. There's really no crime. There's no victim. But in the liberal mind, people like Letitia James, Alvin Bragg, Andrew Edgaron, the judge in this case, there is a crime. And that crime is that you lied, that you defrauded who? Who did you defraud? If you borrowed money from a bank and they did their due diligence and said, oh, he's valid, we'll get our money back, and you got your money back, this is if you're the bank. All right, where's the problem? Who was defrauded? The American people were defrauded? How? How was it? There's no logic to it. You can't just. The problem with the problem on the left is that you can't just go after people because all of those rich people over there are corrupt. You see the fatal flaw in the thinking? You've got to put yourself in their position. The liberal doesn't think that they're defacing America. They think that they're promoting it. They think that they're tearing down a system that doesn't work anymore, a system full of billionaires that control everybody and everything. Now, there is absolute truth to the fact that billionaires do control everybody and everything. But Trump is a different story. Trump is a politician and a former president, right? So when you see Letitia James, black racist female Letitia James, who got kicked out of the New York Division of Human Rights for being a genderist, when you see her with her smug face up front in court, staring Trump down with daggers in her eyes, know that she's deeply, deeply broken and deeply wrong. In fact, she is the totalitarian. She is the one climbing the ladder, right? so to speak, right, to get her out. So that's what we'll talk about today. That's pretty heavy right from the beginning. So welcome, everybody. Mark Sconti reporting. This is my thumbnail today. Trump will hear in his own words. I'm going to let the other commentators and Trump himself take us out and carry us. So I got a website. It's educational, philosophical. There's no conspiracy, seditious conspiracy to overthrow any governments, or it's just a matter of voicing one's opinion so that everybody could hear it. And there is no left or right. Unfortunately, if you're on the left today, we are looking at how the right is being attacked by you. And there'll be plenty of opportunities for the right to attack back. They certainly attacked Vivek Ramaswamy the other night at the debate, claiming that he was in bed with China. But right now we have to look at this. People are calling it a revolution. People are calling it a total breakdown in democracy, where Trump, a businessman, former president, is being railroaded, and there is no victim. In this particular case, the fraud case, where he allegedly inflated his assets. Now, the other one, January 6th, of course, as well, there is no victim of seditious conspiracy to overthrow the government. There is no victim. The people want Trump to do these things and say these things because they believe it. Oh, it is fascinating time to be alive. That's educational, philosophical. That's not a political position whatsoever. It's not a conspiracy. It's just an evaluation of the facts. The facts. That's what we're looking at today. So we'll start here. Let's look at the law. Let's look at how law is being interpreted throughout our great land. Remember the New York City professor who threatened the Post reporter with a machete? Well, she avoided jail with a wrist slap. Therapy plea. How about that? She got away with it. Now, we saw over and over again on this program and everywhere else a crazy woman coming to the door of the New York Post, knocked on her front door, and she came running out with a machete, chased him into the hallway, and then chased him in the street, swinging a machete, saying, "I'll fucking kill you. I'll chop your fucking head off." No crime at all. Right? Show me where anybody was wielding a knife on January 6th in front of the Capitol. Right? Was there any knives or any guns flashing? Any grotesque violence? Not that I know of. Right? There was pushing and shoving and rugby-type men pushing, brawly men pushing each other. But there was no overt violence. But here you have a woman swinging a machete at the media. Right? And there's no crime. Right? So the unhinged college professor threatened to chop off a reporter's head. Shelny Rodriguez, 46, will dodge jail time and won't even have a criminal record if she makes it through as little as 6 months in therapy under the terms of her sweetheart deal with prosecutors in the Bronx. Absurd, outrageous. What the fuck are you teaching in these colleges? She was at Hunter College and she got kicked out, right, for attacking people verbally attacking students at a gathering, right? They had a table set up and she started screaming at them. And then the Post investigated that, and she came out the door with a machete and tried to chop one of their heads off. No crime. There's no crime here. So this is not criminal. This is civil justice. This is black women standing up for our rights in some way, right? See, they see it as it's okay, right? This is how you take back democracy. That's what's in their mind. Believe it. They're taking back democracy in their mind, right? And that's not really a problem, right? The action is the problem. The action of swinging a machete at a reporter. But what about the legal people? The people like Letitia James, who's bringing this bullshit lawsuit in New York City against Trump, 80% of it turns out that it's the statute of limitations have already expired. It's unenforceable. Right? 80% of it. 80% of what they're alleging. So what do you got left? A couple of pieces of theoretically inflated property, right? That's a crime. Where's the victim? Right here, when you see a woman swinging a knife at reporters, we have a weapon, we have a victim, we have a suspect, we have video evidence of her doing it. You see the difference? One almost takes someone's life by chopping her head off with a machete, and she gets 6 months therapy, right? But Trump, 91 felonies, looking to put him in jail for the rest of his life. How many people on January 6th that followed QAnon down the road and somehow ended up at the Capitol steps in a bad situation? How many of those people were offered therapy over 22 years in prison? Huh? How many? No, there's people sitting. That's a bad crime right there. Right? If Trump gets elected, that's got to be the first thing he does. If Trump gets back in, he's got to let those January 6 people out, because that's a disgrace. Right? You see violence all over the place, knife swinging, radicalized black women. It's fucked up. So what else? So I mentioned earlier, Texas Rep Henry Cuellar, a Democrat rep from Texas, carjacked at gunpoint by 3 assailants outside his D.C. home. There he is, Henry Cellar, Democrat from Texas, was carjacked at gunpoint Monday outside his Washington, D.C. apartment. As congressman, luckily he was not harmed. They stole his car. Reportedly, and here's the suspects. You ready for the suspects? Ready? A MPD, Metropolitan Police Department crime alert on the incident says police are on the lookout for, quote, 3 black males wearing all black clothing. Oh, my God. And made off with the congressman's white Hyundai with Texas tags. So that's all they did was steal his car. Did they try to scare him or anything? It doesn't seem so. The alert warns the public to not take action. Don't take action. If 3 armed black males converge on you, don't take action. Just call 911. Cross your fingers. Hope to die, because you might just die. Hope not to die. So violence, epic violence. Epic justification of violence. These guys will probably get a hand slap, a wrist slap, right? And this professor, it's getting bad out there. It's getting bad out there. So let's hear Trump. This is Trump. There's two clips of Trump. One in the morning when he's really riled up, and then a later clip I'll show you when he realized that 80% of the case is going to get tossed out because of the statute of limitations. Let's listen to Trump in his own words. Trump in control.
Step to the right.
Let's go, Trump. I think he's ready. You got to love Trump's long stare down. You see how he stares down the press? I'm in control. I am the president. Right? Very presidential.
Captain.
He's like I'm telling you, he's King Charles I. It's 1649, and they're looking to chop off the king's head. Trump is the king. Right? I'll say it. Trump, Donald J. Trump, is the undisputed king of America. Do you understand who Trump is? Trump is the rebellion. Trump is the guy who said, yes, the billionaires are ripping you off blind. I am one of them. I surrender and will join you in stomping them out. Right? That was Trump's message. Right? Remember when Chappelle said that? The comedian said it. He said Trump came out of that house and told the world that inside that billionaire house, they are ripping you off and laughing about it. And I am part of that. And I will help you if you elect me to get those people. And then he walked right back into that house and he got elected. Right? And what did he do about it? I don't know. But this is what he got for it.
Okay. Thank you very much. This is a continuation of the single greatest witch hunt of all time.
Yeah.
We have a rogue judge who rules that properties are worth a tiny fraction, 1/100th, a tiny fraction of what they actually are. We have a racist attorney general who's a horror show who ran on the basis that she was going to get Trump before she even knew anything.
Now, this is unprecedented. A guy calling the prosecutor, a person, a accused person calling the prosecutor, Letitia James, a racist mother effer.
About me. She used this to run for governor. She failed in her attempt to run for governor. She had virtually no polling. She came back and she said, well, now I'll go back to get Trump again. And This is what we have. It's a scam. It's a sham. Just so you know, my financial statements are phenomenal. They are actually less in terms of the numbers used than the actual net worth. The actual net worth is substantially more.
If you understand business and what Trump is saying, it is business as usual. A billionaire shows up at a bank. He has all these assets. He has a track record of success. He presents his crap to the banks and says, give me $10 million. And the bank looks it over and says, yeah, okay, we'll take a risk here. The bank takes the risk. And in this case, the bank did not get defrauded. The banks did not, the loans were not defaulted. Everybody got paid with interest. There is no crime here. There is no victim.
No bank was affected. No bank was hurt. They don't even know why they have to be involved.
Right.
And they've so testified. They can't believe that they're involved.
Could you imagine the pressure that would now put on banks to evaluate asset value? You're letting banks decide what's worth anything? Banks are the fucking most corrupt entity on the planet. Chase Bank owns 20% of Andy Warhol's float. So whatever Chase, right? Fucking J.P. Morgan, Chase, says that Andy Warhol's paintings are worth, that's what they're worth because they're manipulating the float. You don't want to give banks the ability to evaluate anything, right? The person, I evaluate what my property is worth. And if you don't believe me, you step away from the deal. Right, bank? I don't believe your shit is worth $8 billion. It's only worth $2. But they said yes to it anyway. You see the problem here? This is not crime. This is the system that we have. Now, if you want to change the system, that's okay. But you can't lie and railroad people because you don't understand the system and you think that you're fighting some sort of liberal crusade to take back America for the working people, because that's not what you're doing. You're empowering banks to go after, do the valuation, stay out of it. You don't understand what you're talking about. And that's precisely what Trump is broadcasting.
Because they were paid back on time, there were no defaults, there were no problems, and it was like a perfect client. In the meantime, people are being murdered all over the sidewalks of New York. There was no victim here. The banks were represented by the best, biggest, most prestigious law firms. in the state of New York, actually in the country. Some of the biggest and best law firms, in all cases, the biggest and best law firms. That's who represented them.
All right, so biggest, best law firms in America represented the banks who lent money to Trump, and Trump took the money and paid it back, and that was the end of the deal. Where is the fraud?
The banks got back their money. Again, there was never a default. There was never a problem. Everything was perfect. There was no crime. The crime is against me because we have a corrupt district attorney, but we have a corrupt attorney general, and it all comes down from the DOJ. They're totally coordinated this in Washington because I'm the leading candidate. I'm leading Biden by 10 points.
There's no greater truth than what he's saying. It is a political prosecution of a political opponent. The same people, the same billionaire class, although politicians don't start off in the billionaire class, they start off as poor people like you and I. And then they become very rich, like Nancy Pelosi and Adam Schiff and Mitch McConnell. They fill their coffers with money, right? Those are not the same as the billionaires we're talking about, right? The left has that confused. If you go after Trump, you must go after Bill Gates. You must go after Jeff Bezos. You must go after Elon Musk. You must go after George Soros. You must go after all of them and hold them to a higher criteria. But starting off having law enforcement converge on a presidential candidate, former president, conservative president with, who got through office wonderfully, it's backwards. It's backwards stuff.
And I'm leading the Republicans by 50 and 60 points. That's pretty much, they say, over. I never accept that, but they say it's over. This has to do with election interference, plain and simple. They're trying to damage me so that I don't do as well as I'm doing in the election. Our country's gone to hell. A country that's in decline, serious decline. We have a man running our country who has no clue, doesn't know what he's doing, and you know it better than anybody because you have to cover him. What they've done with open borders, what they've done with
look at the media, look at the press you're giving Trump. Look at millions of people are watching this. There's not as many as say Tucker Carlson, but this statement has gone out to millions of people. His entire base is, because Trump's not down there in South Carolina campaigning, they're sitting there watching Trump get railroaded in New York. You think that that's going to change their mind when Letitia James's case falls to shit? No, they're going to vote more for Trump, right? This only works for Trump again.
Interest rates and taxes, it's a disgrace. So what we have here is an attempt to hurt me in an election. It's an attempt to hurt me in an election. This never happened before, where President of the United States leaves office and gets indicted. And the reason I got indicted was that I ran. If I didn't run, I'd be sitting right now at a beach like Biden does every time, even though he's supposed to be working. So very simply put, it's a witch hunt. It's a disgrace. We have a corrupt attorney general in this state. You see how she does? This trial was railroaded and fast-tracked. This trial could have been brought years ago, but they waited till I was right in the middle of my campaign.
They could have brought it years ago. Alvin Bragg declined to bring the case forward because the statute of limitations, 2014, had already expired on all of this garbage.
The same with other trials and indictments. It's all run by DOJ, which is corrupt in Washington. Everything goes through them. They're all corrupt people. Frankly, our country is corrupt. And that's one of the reasons.
Again, I got to disagree with Trump in that you gotta realize when he calls the left psychopath and fucking crazy, right? They believe that's what you got to understand. Yeah. The left believes it. When Letitia James believes that she is a do-gooder. Yes, she's openly chasing Trump down for her own advancement. But in the back of her mind, she thinks that it plays well to the constituency who thinks that Guys like Trump, billionaire class, it doesn't matter what they do. Everything they do is a crime. Make everything they do as a crime, and then their wealth will somehow trickle down to the little people, namely me. It's twisted logic, right? And was the pandemic part of that? Was the 2 years of isolation that this reporter predicted would cause havoc when people started to come back together again? Remember, most people are not used to being alone and quiet and isolated for more than a few minutes. Right? And you're talking about months went by with masks and distance and fucking stay in your house. Right? And that's what it caused. It caused kind of a delusion, right? And Trump derangement syndrome was already in effect. The psychological dilemma of people who think everything Trump does is wrong and bad. That was already in effect. But it got amplified during the pandemic. And this is what you have. You have people looking at this case saying, this is good. Look at Trump. We're taking down that billionaire class. Hooray! Right? And they missed the greater point, that the billionaire class is funding the whole fucking thing to make Trump look bad so nobody looks at them.
I'm running. We're going to straighten it out. They have one property that's worth anywhere from 50 to 100 times what this judge put down as a value. Put down a value $18 million, and the property's probably worth, could be anywhere from 50 to 100 times more than that.
That's true, right? Who's to say what Mar-a-Lago, the property, a golf club property of the sitting or the former president of the United States? It's like saying, what is Jimmy Carter's peanut farm worth? Right? Well, when Jimmy Carter's alive and he's harvesting peanuts, it's not worth much. But when Jimmy Carter dies, that it's going to obviously become a relic because he's a monument, a national, fucking archive, just like Mar-a-Lago. So to say that Mar-a-Lago is valued at $18 million is ridiculous. It's easily worth 10 times that. It's easily worth maybe 100 times that. You just don't know. And again, it's irrelevant because that's not a crime in itself. The banks already assessed any crime or inflationary talk and gave the money. So there is no crime. There's no victim.
And a lot of those numbers could even be low. We have other properties, the same thing. So he devalued everything. I didn't even put in my best asset, which is the brand in terms of value. Coca-Cola, take a look at their value. They have a value. The value of their brand is more than everything else put together.
That's right, right. The value of Coca-Cola's brand is the highest value of everything. Trump is the same thing. Trump sells a brand. Trump Trump has nothing to do with the casino. He has to do with his name on the top of the casino. So what Trump is saying is very valid. Thank you, Mr. President. So he got some good news on the way out. Let's listen to the better news, right? That was him all worked up before he walked into the court in the morning, and now he comes out at a recess and says this. This is pretty good too. Mr. President.
That was very good. That last 5 minutes was outstanding, because the judge essentially conceded that the statute of limitations that we won at the Court of Appeals is in effect. Therefore, about 80% of the case is over. I was going to come out and say that, as you know, we're not in...
80% of the case is over, says Trump. 80%, right? So 8 out of 10 of the allegations against him fall into the area of statute of limitations, which means that they can't be tried anymore because too much time has passed. I think it's 6 years in this case, or maybe 8 years. 2014 is the deadline. So 80% of what they're saying is garbage.
Entitled to a jury, which is pretty...
No jury. Why isn't there any jury? Why do we have some old man judge in New York ruling on a civil case where Trump is losing his business licenses.
Unusual in the United States of America, so we think it's very unfair that I don't have a jury, but the judge's last statement was very fair, and if I read it right, I'll let perhaps one of the lawyers speak to it, but Cliff, maybe you'll speak to it if you would. But the way I interpret that, and the way everyone else in the room seems to interpret that, is that the statute of limitations is a very real thing in this country. And that would be about 80% of this case would be over. Could somebody speak to that, please?
All right, so Trump making the case that 80%.
Sure. So based on the judge's comments, based on the judge's comments at the end of the trial today, it would appear that he is agreeing that all of the transactions that closed prior to 2014 are now out of the case.
There you go.
Which is about 80% of the case. And it's also something that we won on appeal, but was not accepted by this court, but now seems to be accepted by.
Trump is brilliant, really, where he's able to sit in the courtroom and they're ready to chop his head off. He's King Charles. He holds his composure, and he is now able to immediately come out in front of the public and tell you what the fuck they're trying to do back there. Right? It's outstanding politics. Trump is, really one of the greatest, one of the greatest hellraisers. Right? He's fighting for his life, though. Really, I do believe that they will try to chop his head off at some point.
At this court, as far as the jury is concerned, it's much different now. I must tell you that it was 20 minutes ago.
Yes.
We were going to come out and complain.
The lawyer didn't agree with that. His lawyer's like, Stone, is it really?
That, in this country, you're entitled to a jury. But we very much appreciate the judge's decision today, or his statement today, on statute of limitations, which is a very big thing. There's a limited time period. And we did nothing wrong. And if you look at the statements, they showed that even in 2011, I guess the number was 258 million in cash. Very strong company. I don't believe we really, maybe I wouldn't do a couple of deals or something, but I wouldn't have even needed to go to banks. Banks loved our business. They loved our deals. They weren't defrauded. They lost no money. They made money. They had the finest attorneys.
The banks don't really love Trump's deals. Trump went bankrupt 4 times. He threw it in the face of the banks 4 times. That is business as usual. If you go belly up and you go bankrupt, the banks get screwed. But in this case, they didn't get screwed. Right? They just they got paid, and they made a profit.
That there are. Frankly, their attorneys were better than my attorneys. And they made a lot of money, and they considered me a very good client. I paid them back on time, on schedule. There was no default. They never even sent me a default letter. Not one. For years, never got a default letter. And there's no case here. There's no victim. The banks aren't a victim. The insurance companies are a victim. Everybody got paid. No victim. Everybody got paid. It's a terrible, terrible thing. This was for politics. Now, it has been very successful for them because they took me off the campaign trail.
Yep.
Because I've been sitting in a courthouse all day long.
Yeah, but how many people are watching you right now, Mr. Trump? How many people are watching you, dear President? Right? He spun it. Right? Every time they punch him, he spins it into massive publicity, educating people on the corruption that is the criminal justice system. Right? And again, it's radicalized people who believe what they're doing is correct. Right? Look, when Joe Biden told America that people who refuse to get a vaccine for COVID are killing me, right? They want to kill me. That's what Joe Biden said. Joe Biden believes in his heart that if you don't get a vaccine, you represent a threat to me. You want to kill me. He said it. The clip is very clear. The evidence in the video. Right? Joe Biden believes that. Joe Biden believes that the vaccine is the holy grail. Right? It's wrong. It's inaccurate. It doesn't represent the relevance of a vaccine doesn't back the statement. No one is killing you. You are killing yourself by being unhealthy and exposing yourself to disease. Right? Right? So the point I'm trying to make is that the liberal left, a lot of these crazy ideas, they don't really know the truth. I know it seems like, oh no, they couldn't possibly be that stupid, but they do believe it. See, Letitia James looks in the mirror at night and says, I'm going after the billionaire class. Look at me, mommy. She looks up to heaven if her mother's still alive or dead. And she looks up and says, look, mommy, I'm doing the work of America. Look at how far black women have come. And we're going to take down this billionaire class, and we're going to revamp America for all people. Right? That's what she believes. Get Trump. Get Trump. Get Trump.
Instead of being in Iowa, New Hampshire, South Carolina, or a lot of other places I could be at. This is a horrible situation for our country. It's never happened before. It's election interference. They're interfering with the presidential election of 2024. And the people of our country see it.
It is election interference. There's no, I got to, again, you can't make it up. Of course it's election interference. You're trying to paint the front runner as a criminal, as a fraud, without evidence, right? Clear, unequivocal. Look at the timing of the events. Unequivocal, and this isn't the only one. This is one of 4 cases. The next case, they're going to say Trump was an insurrectionist. They'll try that bullshit. For January 6th, he led a seditious conspiracy to overthrow the government. He should get 35 years in prison. It's all nonsense, right? It's psycho fucking babble, and people believe it.
But this was a big, I say surprise, but it was a great credit to the court that the judge was willing to do this. He sort of overruled himself, and I greatly respect that. Thank you very much, everybody.
So Trump was kissing a little ass there. Let's listen.
Senator Lindsey Graham. Senator, you're a lawyer. You're a lawmaker.
Yeah.
I've never seen anything like this in my life.
No, it's a systematic effort to destroy Donald Trump as a political person. His crime was he was a good conservative president. I've never seen hatred toward a political figure like I see against President Trump.
No, I've seen hatred like that before. This is, it's unique, but it's not that unique. People have hated, people hated George Bush Jr. They thought he was the devil when he invaded Iraq on a lie that they had weapons of mass destruction. And then he went over there and leveled Iraq, hung the president, Saddam Hussein, released a video of people saying they heard his neck snap, and then went in there and fucking eviscerated the stronghold of Saddam Hussein, breaking Iraq into 3 pieces and stealing Kuwait for their own pocket, their own oil money. Right? So this is not really unprecedented. I think it's unprecedented in going after a former president. I've never seen a former president get railed like this.
The left will do anything to ruin his life, to keep him from being president again. And here's the good news. If you're a conservative, it's not working. He can't be in South Carolina today, but let me tell you, the people in South Carolina are watching what's happening to him in New York, and we're not going to let New York get away with this. If you think
How do you stop a senator?
18,
How do you stop a judge?
he wins the primary. He gets to be president again. This judge is a joke. Who got defrauded?
Nobody. Everybody got. By
Who's
the way,
the victim?
Who got defrauded? Who's the victim? Says Lindsey Graham. Thank you, Lindsey Graham.
Who
the
lost
banks
money?
got paid. The insurance companies got paid. And by the way, I should add, it says in the contract,
Yeah.
don't go by our valuations because they have a fiduciary responsibility to do their own fiscal valuations. You're not going to take the word of somebody that wants to borrow that kind of money. You
Well,
have
let's look at the.
That's insane.
Let's look at the AG. She started attacking President Trump in 2018. And she promised if she got to be the Attorney General of New York.
There she is staring down Trump. Watch her stare down Trump. She believes it. This is a good psychology right here. So this is Letitia James. This is the devoured racist who got kicked out of the New York State Division of Human Rights. Right, lost her position as the king over there. Racist. Get out of here. We can't. You discriminate.
She would make this guy's life miserable. That she would go after him. Look under every rock.
Look at the way she's staring Trump down. Look at this. Look, this is like a fucking psychopath, right? She should be in handcuffs, right? Because you don't know what she's going to do. Maybe she's going to try to attack Trump with a machete like the other crazy lady in fucking Queens.
So she has used Donald Trump to elevate herself politically.
Yes.
She is trying to get ahead at Donald Trump's expense. The judge has ruled that President Trump committed fraud and nobody got defrauded.
Right.
The judge believes that Mar-a-Lago's worth $18 million. What a friggin' joke. Now, here's what's important to people watching this show. President Trump can't be in Iowa and South Carolina and New Hampshire. But if you live in these states, you can help him by making sure that liberals do not get away with this. Vote for President Trump.
So Lindsey Graham's out there on the campaign trail. Let's listen to this clip, too.
So far, Alvin Bragg dumped this case. He didn't pursue this case, okay? Now maybe we're figuring out why. Maybe Alvin Bragg understood that the statute of limitations wasn't going to hold up in this case, but no, the woman who is in front of the video, do you want me to get him? Do you want me to get him? I'll go get Donald Trump. She went, guns a-blazing, forward with this case, and now she has been embarrassed by this judge who would love to get this guy, right? But he looks at the case and says, oh my gosh, why did you bring this to me? You've got about 80% of this that doesn't even hold up in the statute of limitations.
Right.
On top of that, so they are so overexposed, right, between Bragg.
See, even the woman with the blonde hair knows. That was a bad joke. Hey, look at the woman with the blonde hair. She even gets it.
And how he handled it. And then Letitia James, and now this judge, they all look, it's embarrassing for all of them at this point, right? The other side of this is, show me the bank that has been wronged, deceived. There isn't one. There's no banks.
No banks got ripped off. Nobody.
Injured party in this case. So did they bring these kind of similar cases against other real estate developers in this? I'm not saying.
What they're saying again is the bigger point is that they're defrauding you, the American people, because Trump got momentum, and without him, wheeling and dealing with the banks, he would have never become president. You see how his actions caused him to be elevated to the highest office in the country. It's built on lies, right? But it's not. It's not at all. It's a misconception.
It's right to overvalue your property, but the bottom is the rubber hits the road when
they're basically creating crimes where there were none. Tucker Carlson, this is really good. Tucker
long to figure out what's happened.
Listen.
If you've ever wondered why it's taken you so long,
you know what? I'll look at the markets and then I'll let Tucker Carlson take us out. It looks like the markets are down a little at this moment. Markets have opened down. Dow Jones Industrial Average down 56, NASDAQ down 40, S&P 500 down 10. A lot of predictions are that the S&P 500 by year's end will be 4,600, not 42.7. So the predictions, the overall Wall Street predictions, is that the markets will continue to go up a little bit. Stocks sink at the open as bond yields surge. Whatever. Let's look at the big board. The big board, Google down 20 cents, Apple down 30 cents, Amazon down $1.80, Meta down 91 cents, Microsoft down $1, Tesla down 2. Those are the big 7. Rivian down $1, Tilray up half a penny. What else? Walmart up 30 cents. Bitcoin down $800 to 27,005. Never got over 30, Bitcoin. Stalled. Boeing, Raytheon, Lockheed Martin, those are your military industrial complex stocks, mixed with Boeing leading the charge up 2.5%. Not bad. $4.21 Boeing. They must be getting some bombing contracts. Right? Let's build some fucking bombs. The holiest of holy the holy, holy, holy stocks on the stock market, Pfizer, Johnson & Johnson, Moderna, holy because they make the holy vaccine, they profit from it, all down. Moderna up 8 cents, the rest of them are down. So mixed open, down open, not mixed. They're down. Nasdaq is down. It looks like it's it looks like it's accelerating a little bit. The down momentum. So I don't know. You've got I think overall it looks like there's no reason for the market to sell off, viciously into the end of the year. In fact, Jerome Powell's going to maybe jack the interest rate one more time, and then they're going to stabilize that interest rate, and it'll be business as usual. In my view, I would not bet against big tech. I would not bet against Microsoft, Tesla, Amazon, fucking Nvidia. I would never bet against these people today because they're in charge. They have all the money, and they're going to keep reinventing the fucking wheel and making lots of money. So let's listen to Tucker with 21.5 million views on this clip alone, which he put up 1 day ago.
If you've ever wondered why it's taken you so long to figure out what's happening now in American politics, don't blame yourself. It's not your fault. It's hard for most Americans to comprehend the total dishonesty of American liberalism. Mm-hmm. Virtually nothing the liberal says is true. And the lies are not ordinary lies. The lies are so brazen, so aggressive and unending that it's difficult for a normal person to understand what's happening. 30 years ago, for example, liberals began to lecture us, softly at first and then in an increasingly high volume, about tolerance. How could you have known then that they planned, in fact, to usher in the most intolerant age in American history?
See, now Tucker Carlson, he's putting his finger on the dilemma, right? Which the liberal left believes what they're doing. They believe it to be truthful and integral. That's the fucking problem.
They've done that now, but few people saw it coming. We shouldn't make the same mistake again. Mm-hmm. Liberals are now telling us they plan to protect American democracy, and that's the clearest possible sign that they intend to end it. 13 months from this week, the United States will hold a national election. In a democracy, citizens can vote for the candidate of their choice.
Zoot Cooter reports the empty lot adjacent to Mar-a-Lago is for sale for $100 million, but the judge says Mar-a-Lago is only worth $18 million. It is fascinating, right? The sitting president owns a giant mansion in Florida on the beach, and it's worth $18 million. But Picasso's painting, a fucking oil on a piece of paper, is worth $100 million, right? Who's to value these things? They're worth what people are willing to pay, and what banks and assessment people who assess risk do. That's a good point. That's interesting. If there is I wonder why Trump didn't buy the empty lot.
That's not just a feature; it's the defining fact of the electoral system. The people rule. They can send anyone they want to Washington.
Correct.
Because they're in charge. But this year, in the name of protecting democracy, liberals have decided to strip Donald Trump's name from the ballot in states across the country. Trump is...
Why? Why was Trump's name stripped from the ballot in certain states? Election interference. You can't vote for Trump. He's bad. You see, he's a criminal.
The front runner in the presidential race. He's currently beating Joe Biden in the polls. Yet liberals have decided that you should not be allowed to elect him president.
Correct.
That's not democracy. It's the opposite. It's totalitarianism.
Right.
Just this morning, Donald Trump appeared in court in New York in a civil case brought by the state's attorney general that was designed explicitly to keep him out of the White House. Mm-hmm. That case is part of a larger legal barrage against Trump that so far includes a total of 91 felony counts, every one of them politically motivated. But today's civil case is especially absurd. In fact, it's hard to overstate its ridiculousness. In sum, Trump stands accused of inflating the value of collateral used to secure loans that he has already paid back with interest. In other words, there is no injured party in this case. The biggest banks in the world assessed the risk, and they made a profit, as they almost always do. Not a single person was defrauded. For this non-crime, Trump and his children are in the process of losing their homes and their businesses. Here's MSNBC's live coverage of the hearing today. And as you watch, pay special attention to the judge in the case, Arthur Engoron.
And there you see President Trump, the former president, I should say, next to his attorney, and that's Chris Kise, who we expect to make the opening statements here. And then this,
Judge Engoron.
I guess, is Judge Engoron.
There he is, the judge, mugging like he's on stage in a middle school play, grinning, preening for the camera. Arthur Engoron is thrilled to be on MSNBC. It's nauseating. This is not a legal proceeding. This is a grotesque parody of the system that our forefathers created, the fairest in the world.